Jay, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, the Internet of Things. What is the Internet of Things?
Great question. You know, the Internet of Things really does a couple of things. Number one, it pulls from GE's fantastic technology that's been around for a long time. What it does is it gathers that data and it gives the end user the opportunity to really take that and create a value proposition for themselves. So if you think about the analogy, GE's platform is called Predix. And the analogy would be Apple's iOS store, right? So imagine being an electrical utility and being able to create your own apps off of this platform with access to just enormous amounts of data to be able to see things and do things faster than you've ever been able to do before. So really excited about that across not just GE's industrial portfolio, but specifically within nuclear as well.
And how did that initiative come about?
You know, the great thing, we've got a great leader in Jeff Immelt, and he has a great quote is, you know, you wake up one day and you're a software company. So like GE, across all of our businesses, we can really leverage some great initiatives. This is a perfect example of what we call the GE store. So literally you would go in and you'd be able to pull many things out of this store. Predix is one of them with the Internet of Things applied in many, many different of the industries that we've got.
So looking to the future, how does that play into where you're looking in 5, 10 years' time?
Yeah, so think about the possibilities of having information available, not in a binder in an engineer's office somewhere, but actually in the cloud, being accessed by an app. So think about doing life cycle extension and having all that information about how that plant is operated to be able to justify extended life. Think about all the logistics you've got to do to onboard people for an outage and how that is done with routing. And you could really do applications that will optimize that and directly save money for our customers, which is, at the end of the day, customer outcomes is what it's all about.
So would you go so far as saying it's a game changer?
Big time. I mean, this is really, much like our technology is a breakthrough in its performance, this is a breakthrough in the ability to really utilize that technology to its extreme.
What would you say the current landscape of nuclear energy globally is?
Yeah, so it's been interesting over the last few years, right? So you go back to the last big build in the US, let's say, in the 70s, and then you have a couple of the events and things slow down. You get the beginnings of renaissance, if you will, and that doesn't quite take off for a lot of reasons, but yet you look at the dynamics around the world. We in the US are certainly building, and that supply chain and that whole mechanism is sort of rebuilding muscle memory. You've got China that's just doing fantastic job of bringing, I think it's over a couple of dozen plants under construction. You've got India with large aspirations as well. So I think we're at a inflection right now that we hoped we would have been earlier, but I think there is certainly a place for nuclear within the portfolio. It hits clean energy, it's base load, it gives you energy security as well. And it's, you know, we've got some of the greatest technology out there, certainly with our ESBWR technology, the safest in the world. It's really smart around O&M costs, and it's very simple, which I think is the important next phase to go to.
And that leads quite succinctly into public perception of nuclear post-Fukushima. How are you addressing those issues? So
I think this is an area that we as an industry have not done very well with. If you really look at the data, nuclear is far safer than coal, far safer than others, when you really look at the wing-to-wing aspects of it, right? We haven't done a good job telling that story, and I think it's exacerbated a little bit because of these singularities, if you will, that draw the attention, and nobody really understands the technology. So I think it's up to us, the leadership here at WNA, other industry associations around the world, to really start thinking about how do we tell the story not to ourselves, but to the people in the communities that a nuclear plant will be, or the people that are, you know, have a voice and are stakeholders in the whole industry itself.
And what would you say the World Nuclear Association's part in that narrative is?
I think it's a great association. You know, we've been on the board for quite some time. I think it brings together truly, when I would highlight the word world there, because it really brings in every aspect of the nuclear industry. And you've got people that are in developed markets, you've got people that are in emerging markets, and it's a great opportunity to bring these different experiences, lessons learned, working groups that get together and talk about things that are important to the industry. So very excited about it. Ever since I've been in this role, I have certainly supported it and been at each and every WNA.
So it's exciting times for you with the ratification of the Alstom Agreement.
Absolutely. So yesterday, Tuesday, August 8th, we received the final approval from the European Commission and the U.S. Department of Justice. We'd also received earlier several other countries' competition approvals for this deal. So now it's time for us in the fourth quarter to move toward the final closure, and that will create a great combination between GE and Alstom. From a geography point of view, we fit together very well. They're doing great in emerging markets with their technology. From technology point of view, with gas turbines and the steam turbines as well, and just overall bringing that culture together. So very, very excited about that. It brings the opportunity actually for us to bring their Arabelle technology, which fits beautifully with our ESBWR, to create a combination of the safest reactor in the ESBWR with the most efficient steam turbine with the Arabelle technology. So can't wait for it to close.
What does the future hold?
So I think the future is looking very good for all of us. It's going to be a lot of work. We've got to do a number of things. We've got to continue to develop our supply chain. We've got to make sure that we come together as a worldwide community with very consistent regulations, very well understood expectations. I think we've got a lot of people that have been in this industry for quite some time. We've got to get the next generation. So getting that next generation of engineers and of project managers is really, really critical. And I spend a lot of time with our North American young generation in nuclear as one example of ability to fill that pipeline. But I think, with the emphasis of this world on clean energy and emissions, and the need for power in emerging markets, where you've got almost 1 billion people in Africa that don't have as much power as some of the single countries in Europe, and they want to grow, they want to have a middle class. They're going to need to be able to have, opportunities, and the best way to do that is with nuclear as part of a diverse portfolio of energy alternatives.
Why do you think the industry is not attracting the younger generation into it?
Well, there's not been a lot going on, really. As far as the new build and this wave and excitement of being able to be a part of something that is clear ground and then becomes this great technology that's built, right? So we haven't had, a big attraction, if you will. That's changing. So there's builds going on, they're seeing things happening, so that's good. I think the outreach is increased as well. We didn't try too hard. And so I think it's everywhere I go, I'll participate on the WNA panel, and I will promise you that will be one of the questions or topics that comes up, is how do we get this next generation into the nuclear industry? So it is very, very key.
What is nuclear's part to play in addressing fuel poverty?
So I think, again, GE certainly within our power and water business believes in diversity of a portfolio for each country, right? So whether you're gas rich, putting all your eggs in one basket, if you'll say, creates a certain risk from a density, if you will. So we believe in the diversity there. So for every emerging market, I think it's great to see, let's take cell phones in Africa. Africa never strung up lines and lines and lines for telephones, right? They pretty much jumped right to the cell phone infrastructure. So why should developing markets go through dirty coal to develop out and get to somewhere? So I think there's a portfolio that should be out there for not just established markets, but for emerging markets, and nuclear plays a very strong part in that. It's green energy, it's base load. Yes, and I think renewables certainly play. It's not an either or. To me, they're very complementary. And I think the diversity supply is very important.
And what are you most looking forward to at the symposium?
So I always look forward to meeting new people, connecting with old friends, and learning something new. I always walk away here with something that I can take back to my team at our headquarters in Wilmington, North Carolina, and spark another conversation and think about what we might need to do better to address a customer need that I heard of, or maybe a trend that's happening. So I think it's a great way to bring everybody together on a global stage here in London.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Great, thank you very much.